Thanks for tuning in to the Urban Scope podcast. I'm back with another hip hop topic. I will be covering the Jermaine Dupri tweet, the controversial tweet that he put out. And in his tweet, he says, "I'm a little lost. Can somebody tell me what the goal of being an independent artist is today? Because all of the things that people are chasing is stuff major artists do. What's the thing that indie artists do that make it special?" So it was controversial because he's a well-known producer, been in the game over 30 plus years, has managed a lot of artists, produced for a lot of artists, wrote for a lot of artists, did a lot of great things for music. So most people are saying that he should know what an independent artist, why you want to be an independent artist. Now, some people took it as sarcasm. Some people took it as he was speaking from a privileged position. Now, when I think about his tweets, I think he's speaking from a perspective of just saying the financial situation. So when you're an independent artist, of course, you're doing all the work. You're funding your own tours. You're funding your own promotion. You have to get all this claim and recognition by yourself. And he's wondering, why don't you just go through a major label to get this done? But this is kind of, what do they call it? Dinosaur-like thinking. So the biggest independent rappers that I know are Chance the Rapper and Tech Nine from the Kansas City area, of course. They've been very successful doing it, and they've owned their masters and owned their rights and things like that. The normal things that an independent artist has. Now, I remember Rick Ross. Like I said, I talked about him, but Chance the Rapper and Tech Nine were ahead of the curve when you think about independent artists and just getting all your rights and having your situation okay. Rick Ross talked about being in bad contracts and being able to work himself out of them, writing for other artists and just doing a lot of different things, diversifying himself just to get out of these contracts, because a lot of these contracts are seen as predatory. We talked about these before when you talked about the stories of TLC. Chaperone talked about how she didn't have insurance when she was first signed to a label because she wasn't a big time artist. She didn't have enough money to do so. She was struggling. She had this deal. But there are a lot of things that you have to do when you first get on with the label, and a lot of things that you owe. So just from my eyes, looking at reading stories and looking at other people's situations, you're starting off in the negative once you get to the advance. So if they give you $1 million advance, you're already $1 million behind that you have to pay back. Then you have to think about the studio time, the promotions, and the other things that the label adds to your bill that they're saying they're doing out of their pockets to make you hot as an artist and to get you on and to get you out there in the limelight. So there's a lot of money that goes into it. And you're starting off in a negative. Now, when you're independent artist, at least you can learn the business and you're able to control your own destiny. You're able to see how the business works and see where the money goes. But when you work for a major, you really don't see it. People are just telling you things. It's not like they're going to give you access to the books and to the numbers. You're pretty much relying upon these executives and other music people. So, and unless you have an entertainment lawyer that knows what they're really doing, a lot of these artists always get stiffed, or there's some kind of fee that they lose. And Meek Mill is starting to see that now because he became independent a few years back because he made these hit songs, and he said he's not making any money off these songs. He had one of the greatest intros in hip hop, some of the greatest music in hip hop, these party songs that he put out, and he's not seeing a big piece of the pie, or he's claiming not any piece of the pie. So Jermaine Dupri definitely knows this, but with the internet and social media now, you're able to promote and put yourself out there with in so many different ways, whether it be a TikTok, Facebook, Instagram, just marketing all across the board. There's so many ways to get your product. You don't have to rely on radio and TV anymore like you used to. There is so many different avenues now. So, but of course, if you're independent, there's a lot more work. You need a team, and you need to learn a lot fast in order to be successful. Opposed to just joining a major, you have people to do that for you. But like I said, you don't control your destiny. You don't control your finances. You don't have control of a lot of things. You don't have a lot of artistic freedom, which a lot of artists appreciate because they're not able to put the music out that they want. And I talk all the time about the mixtapes and the freedom that you had there, but nowadays even mixtapes are you don't really have the freedom on those either because they release on these social streaming platforms. So you don't have that as well. But I think Jermaine Dupri was frustrated with the industry and not being able to get the top talent because he talked about losing Lotto from his hip hop show that he had and not being able to sign her and things like that. And there was a time where Jermaine Dupri was hot as fish grease because he had Bow Wow running the charts, he had the Brad, he had Chris Cross, he had these different artists that he was writing for, whether it be Mariah Carey, Usher, and things like that. So, but he has to blame the industry and these technological advances. And artists have more knowledge and information now and education on how to be successful. They got all of these books and these different videos that teach you of other people's stories. And like they say, a wise man learns from the mistake of others. A fool learns from mistakes of himself. So they're able to look at other people's stories and say, no, I'm not going to go down that route. I can, do this on my own and I can figure it out. I can be smart enough to figure this out. So kudos to all those artists that are able to go independent because, like I said, it's not glamorous. It's definitely a lot of work, but like I said, you need a strong team around you and knowledgeable people and people you can trust. So that's definitely a different thing. But Jermaine Dupri definitely is underappreciated in hip hop. This tweet didn't change anything for me. He's not just a CEO, but he's a producer and songwriter as well, and an artist himself. But this newer generation doesn't know or appreciate Jermaine Dupri enough to know his contributions to the game. So he helped bring us Confessions. Usher's Confessions is one of the greatest greatest R&B albums of all time. And he just, it's different stroke, different folks. He grew up in an era where majors were the only option pretty much. Now everybody's becoming more independent and at least starting off independent and being able to get hot enough for a label to see you, because you're not going to just start off rapping and sign to a label. You have to work enough to get, you have to be independent starting off. And then eventually the majors will see you, and then you have to match it up and see if it's lucrative for you or not. You might be losing money joining a major when you was already independent. You're making, you know, hundreds of thousands of, every month or so. But then with the label, you're probably not making that much. So you have to just, different strokes, different folks, see what matches for your style. But like they say, if you want to be independent, then you're just not focused on the music. You're focused on the business of music. But if you want to be with the major, you're focusing on just the music, because you have people to do that for you. You just have to perform and deliver at a high rate. So, like I said, it's your preference, but I think Jermaine Dupri sees changes in the future, and that's why he's kind of jump-starting this question to get people thinking, because he sees something down the road that we don't see. He's heavily involved in the music business, and like I said, he's very knowledgeable. So I trust his process of everything. I think he's seeing some coming down the pipe. So as always, until next time, I'll see you next time.